Okay, so good evening, everyone, and welcome. It's a pleasure to see many familiar and new faces joining us today. My name is Shalala Mehmetli, and I'm delighted to welcome you to the fourth session of the Informed Voices Media Literacy webinar series. Today, we are happy to have participants joining us from different countries and educational backgrounds. This series is designed to create a space for meaningful conversations around media and media literacy, bringing together educators, researchers, and practitioners to reflect on critical, ethical, and responsible media engagement. But before we begin, let me briefly remind you of some rules. So to receive a certificate of participation, make sure to attend at least 4 out of the 6 webinars. Just stay with us till the end of the session, and please complete the quiz at the end of the session. And we also encourage you to be active throughout the session. So please take notes, reflect on the ideas shared, and you can ask questions during a Q&A segment. And also, this webinar is a co-hosted session, and I'm very happy to be joined today by my colleague from Romania, Dan Alexandru Chita. So he will continue the session, introduce himself, and introduce our dear esteemed speaker. So the floor is yours, Dan.
Good evening to everybody. Thank you very much, Shalala, and good evening again to everyone, especially our special guest. My name is Dan Chița, and I'm joining you today from Romania. It's a real pleasure to co-host this session as part of the Informed Voices Media Literacy webinar, a series, an initiative that brings together educators and media professionals who believe in the power of critical and ethical media education. Today, we are honored to welcome a highly respected academic, researcher, and media professional. Professor Dr. Nilüfer Pembecioğlu is a faculty member of the Istanbul University Faculty of Communication, Department of Radio, Television, and Cinema. I hope I didn't mispronounce your name.
Perfect pronunciation. Thank you.
You're welcome. Her academic expertise focuses on children and media relations alongside a broad and interdisciplinary range of topics. With more than 40 years of experience as a teacher trainer, Professor Dr. Pembecioğlu has worked extensively in linguistics, film and communication, advertising, peace education and peace journalism, new and digital media, artificial intelligence, as well as studies related to children, women, health management, civil aviation, and aviation psychology. She is the author of numerous books, book chapters, and scholarly articles published both nationally and internationally. In addition to her academic work, she has directed 8 animated feature films, 30 short films, and 8 documentaries. We are truly grateful to have her with us today. Professor Dr. Pembecioğlu, thank you for joining us. The floor is now yours.
Thank you very much. Thank you. It's a great pleasure to meet with you and with all the colleagues, especially the teachers and teacher trainers. I believe that the privacy issues are really very important issues in nowadays. And I would like to remind you that the world population is getting more and more every day, every single day. We will be having even more people around. And averagely, 13% of this world population is over 60. What does it mean? They are getting older and they are tending to use traditional media, which is far away from the modern artificial intelligence and internet issues or social media. And 61% of them is including the ages between 15 and 60. That means that this is the capacity for the new media and new media tendencies. And 26% of the whole population is below 15 years old. And that means that they are really children and they need attention and to be taken care of. Well, what can we do with them? we cannot censor what they see or what they have or what they produce, but we need to be very tolerant and very careful about their media encounterings and media use. Of course, they can produce whatever they want, but we're not dealing with what they produce. We're dealing much more what they consume. Because we need to understand who is reaching them and for what purposes. We know that for basic information, children are sometimes speechless when it comes to expressing themselves, especially when they are getting adolescence. And it may be impossible for them to describe everything they hear, they see, they feel. So this is the blank point for us, for the teachers, for the parents. Sometimes things happen, and usually it's the parents who hear about it at the end. We have some reservations about sharing their anxieties and fears because they don't want to make themselves seen by the others. It's not easy to decipher their feelings and fears. Children remember communicative contexts if they are so little. They remember the actions and they remember the emotions, what they feel in the state of an action. They remember the colors. They even remember the smells in an interconnected and cumulative way. For example, let's take the blanket. Blanket is not just an object for the child. It's the place where he sleeps or she sleeps. It's the safety. It reminds her or him the touch of softness, the mother or father affection. And the smell also is the family. And the action is sleeping action. And it's time to enjoy the family. And the color of it, the touch of it, the ground of it, it's really very important, but they cannot differentiate with the little details. They don't consider the graphs on it or the shapes on it or the pictures on it. They just remember it. How do they feel about the blanket? So this is really very important. They attribute meanings to what they see. So everything for children is media. The mother is the media, the father is the media, all the kids in around are media for the little kid, and the grandmothers, grandparents are also the media. So we use our voice, we use our body language, we use the facial expressions to reach to them. And this is also a kind of a way, a bridge to reach to children. So now we are living in a kind of a society. What kind of a society it is? It's the Industry 4 or Society 5. It's the age of speed, process, requests, and content. It's the consumer society. It's the society of a spectacle. It's named either crisis society, sometimes it's the risk society, sometimes we call it as a kind of a virtual society because we reach everything in a virtual way nowadays. And it's a lonely society, actually. We live in a society, but we are all alone, becoming more and more lonely nowadays. So that we've got the ministries of loneliness in Japan and in UK, and there might be more in near future in other countries as well. Why are we so alone? We don't know. Because of the technology, because of the society we live in, because the digitalization and artificial intelligence bring with them information overload. So we need to consume them all. We are dealing with the artificial human relationships, and we are dealing with the concepts such as an entirely different universes, algorithms, augmented reality, enriched reality, fake news, and deep fake. All these are bringing a kind of a virtual society in front of us that we cannot deal with it all. In this era, being a parent, a child, or a teacher is becoming increasingly difficult. And these realities, such as who knows what, how competent they are, and what skills they possess, are being ignored. And this is a real disaster because people become speechless when it comes to secrecy, when it comes to privacy, but they talk a lot to the others who has nothing to do with them. Moreover, the necessary knowledge for people to recognize their shortcomings is lacking. I mean, nobody tells the critics to the other person directly. The time is running out and the subjects to be learned have reached enormous proportions, and the big data is over there, just we cannot see it, or we cannot understand what it really means for us. Actually, this presentation aims to share the risks and opportunities that might need to be considered, and I try to offer some tips on how educators, families, and children can use their time effectively, so that we can make the best use of the media. I've got the magic word to see, but to see what? Because we forget to see. We don't see the reality. We don't see each other. We are always looking over the shoulders of the person in front of us, as if we are going to find somebody more important. We don't see each other. We don't care for each other. Instead, we would like to be seen. And perhaps more than that, we try to make the others see what kind of a person we are, where are we at the moment, with whom we are, or the locations, what are we eating, etc. Especially the adolescents prefer this stage to make the others see that they are still alive, and they want to share the things with the others. The others who are the others. Sometimes we know they are our friends, as we call them, colleagues, around neighbors, or perhaps relatives, but perhaps sometimes they are the unknown peoples. They are following us, tagging us, or just fans, as they like it. But this brings us into a kind of a chaos. Imagine a Chinese adolescent girl, for example, is shooting over 340 photographs every day to be shared with the friends. That means that she is sharing whole of her life. She's sharing every second, almost every second, with the others. So where is privacy? Where are we if we are sharing every moment with the others? Why are we doing that? Do they really enjoy every minute of us? Or when will I get some rest? That's the question. So now we are in Industry 4.0. According to the experts, Turkey is not for Industry 4 at the moment. It's 2.7. The first industrial revolution brought us about the steam and steam-powered appliances changing the world. We had the steamboats, steam trains, etc. Electricity of the second industrial revolution, and thirdly, the information technologies and automation brought some kind of production. The fourth industrial revolution contains elements that will change us. That means the society will also change. The self-government, autonomous society will appear. Do you think that we are self-government enough? Do you think that we are autonomous enough as individuals so that the society will become the similar one as well? We have some doubts. So here we have some questions. What we need? What do we need? We need to understand the media world. We need to position ourselves correctly in this wild world. We need some pushing boundaries of consumerism. We need to be producers instead of consumers. We need to become critical readers if possible. We need to learn how to think clearly, and we need to learn how to interpret objectively, and we need to manage our perceptions. Otherwise, we will be stagnating over the doses, and then we will be watching the world only through our eyes, and with the front of our brain, and this would just guide us to the visuals. We need to audit our information. That means to criticize. We need to cope with the diversifications. We need to have some conscious consumptions. We need to develop a kind of a manager's perspective. That means that we need to manage our time, energy, and feelings or thoughts. We need to balance the intensity of emotions. It's really very hard to describe what we feel nowadays because we don't know what we feel. It's so ups and downs that the real feeling is not occurring at that moment, because in order to feel the feeling, we need at least 20 minutes to discover what we are feeling and to overcome that kind of a feeling. But if we don't know how to balance it, we cannot think multidimensionally. We only think in that feeling, and in a minute we change our attitudes and pass to another feeling. And we cannot predict the future, and of course we cannot raise good children when we are feeling all in a kind of a complex situation. So the media here is functioning here as kind of a bombarding autonomous enormous giant what can we say, a giant eclectic dynamic body, let's say. It's not something to be afraid of, but if we cannot cooperate with it, we may become just a slave of it, or we may just forget about our consciousness, because in each minute we are changing our attitudes, beliefs, and feelings, so that we don't know what to do. It's a kind of a wheel that's turning, you know, the plastic wheel. It's so turning so speedy that we don't understand what's going on in us. So the age groups of our population develops different viewing habits. As we mentioned before, the older generation tends to go with the stream of the tradition of traditional media habits. The younger generation opts for the new media, and the time spent there changing from 3 hours for the older generation up to 5 or 8 hours for younger generation. And just let's imagine if it were a workplace, we would establish a time-benefit relationship, questioning whether the time spent was worth the benefit gained. However, media viewing activity is presented as a kind of a leisure time habit, and we just wonder, do we really have such a leisure time? Do we really have to spend it in front of the screens all the time? And apart from that, do we really understand what we see? Because once having a kind of a visual like that, what can we think of? We may think of nature, we may think of the concept of a family, we may think of the concept of a leadership or guidance. How do I know that I'm seeing something correctly? How I saw the right thing? Is it possible to define it? Or that how do I know that I attributed the right meaning to it? Perhaps it's somewhat different, that I explained it correctly when I told it to someone else. If I make a mistake and then understand it in a wrong way. So it's really very difficult to cope up with the visuals in the form of a bombardment, especially because you don't have a minute to think about it. You have to decide very quickly in 30 seconds, in 15 seconds, that you like it or not. And then you pass to another visual that might be like this. Maybe I'm looking in the wrong direction at the wrong time. So my prejudices or my thoughts about that concept before is leading me to see and to interpret it in the wrong way. So this kind of quick decision-making processes might be just very dangerous, especially for the kids. apart from that, we produce games, toys, lullabies, fairy tales, films for the children. These are the children media. And we, of course, expect them to become the dreamers, the creative people. We want them to be productive in future. But how realistic they are? Because as far as we have the research results from the field, it's possible to see that the children in nowadays are not realistic at all. They are thinking of magical things that would change the situation all of a sudden, make the things in the correct way they desire. But that's impossible, as we know. The reality is somewhat different from what they think. It doesn't occur in fairy tales or films, or it never is told in lullabies, or the toys or games don't produce such kind of a realistic approach for children. Now we've got the 21st century literacies. What we have here is ethical literacy. We should be able to understand whether that concept, that subject, that visual is ethical or not. We need to judge it. We need to criticize that. We need to understand the 21st century citizenship literacy. I mean, are you a good citizen in the 21st century? Do you do what you are obliged to do for your society? Do you care for kids, for your environment, for the garbage, etc., etc.? So there are some citizenship issues that you need to fulfill, but most of the people perhaps are not aware of it 100%. We need, of course, basic literacy skills, media literacy skills. Media literacy is something we are dealing with the media, but as we know, media is not only related with the screens. The media is all around us. For example, I've seen a very old lady wearing a t-shirt, and on t-shirt it writes, "Follow me." Should I follow her or not? So this is also a kind of a media literacy, that what kind of a message do we give to the others in the society so that they could follow us or not. And we need some information literacy. Where is the information? Is it the right information, or is it a kind of a misleading information? So that we are dealing with the literacies in that way as well. Intercultural literacy, we need to understand the other cultures, other societies, to understand their values and to respect them. And we need a network literacy. And apart from all these, what I call is a human literacy. We need to understand each other. We need to be able to guess what the other person is talking or thinking about, how the faces are changing as we talk or as we correspond with them. Are they getting bored? Do they feel any pain, or is there anything wrong with them? So human literacy is really very important nowadays, because people don't understand each other. They don't care for each other. They don't look at each other. They only care for the materials around. So in the former times, we were calling the jobs as journalism, advertisement field, or public relations field, or cinema, television, and entertainment field. But now we've got new industries that we call the creative industries. That creative industries is kind of playing a chess game, that you have to consider what will happen 3 steps later, so that when you are producing your film, you need to be aware of what kind of objects you will be having, or what kind of audiences could reach to your film, or what other sources of possible income. That's why we have e-commerce in nowadays, integrated with creative industries. We are trying to sell everything we see around. For example, especially in China, there are some phenomena that we call them the internet phenomena, of course. They are selling the blouse they are wearing at that moment, or the pair of shoes, because they are advertising them at that moment. Somebody is paying for that a pair of shoes, and then they buy it, and then you just pack it and sell it. So we are going to a kind of a world like that. So we've got internet mergers, internet television broadcasting, wireless broadcasting. They are all merged media, and we are creating some networks, B2B networks as well. We are having net meetings, distance conferencing, computer games, software applications, etc. And all apart from these, we've got the virtual reality that we call deepfake, and we are creating memes or the moments for the dead people, for example, for your beloved family members who passed away, and then we are still producing images related to them. So is it possible to just give up all these? Of course not. But what we need is to consider what we can do within such a big data environment. We need to work with the big data because it's incredible speed of information. It's bringing artificial intelligence, replacing human in nowadays. And it's also bringing nanotechnology, quantum computers, and information society, IoT, cloud systems, that everything is talking to each other. Every subject, every object around you will be encountering a different code. We are soon going to come up with the super kids, thanks to transhumanism. They are bringing us a kind of a new type of human, equipped with all those kind of super activities and actions, super body. Concepts such as deep mind, deep learning have already entered into the literature, and the way of life is coming, which we call the Internet of Things: smart refrigerators, smart shelves, smart homes, smart cars, smart cities, etc. So going digital means that we've got some dilemmas. It's not only a dichotomy that real versus ordinary human or versus heroes, superheroes. Is it a dichotomy of virtual and real world? Is it bringing us a kind of a step-by-step established identity, or a secure world, a visible and reputable and accredited world that everybody knows you in the virtual world, but nobody knows you when they come across with you in the street? There are some skills and achievements that we may cope up with. And technical leadership and human relations, management, success, and the trust is really very important. Whom we are going to trust. And it should be a fast and agile and responsive trust. It is also requiring some traceable and verifiable connection with the others in the society. I mean, we should be in the same network, and so that we can trust each other. And it should also be a portable and shareable one, so that we can carry it wherever we go, even if we go to an isolated island. So in here, in the Plutchik wheel, that we've got several different feelings that can we show our true feelings to each other? And privacy, is there any privacy that I can keep my fears to myself only, but not share it with the others? And we need to know more about the paradigmatic thinking. What can I change? What can I replace? For example, if I'm a media person who's going to produce some news for tomorrow's newspaper, I mean, for the newspaper, an internet newspaper, if I'm going to be talking about gender anymore, because when I start my sentence with a female or male name, then the capacity of the audience would be changing. If I mention the name and age as the young or senior one, so the audience will be changing. To whom I'm gonna talk to? What's my target audience? If I choose my subject as a person who is educated or an uneducated person, then the audience will be reflexive again, because depending upon their own reflexivity, their education level, I'll be covering them or excluding them. Depending upon their social status, being at their high or low levels, or depending upon their economic status, being rich or poor, their qualifications, being able or unable to do something, for example, the handicaps, or the capacity with or without capacity, physical capacity, conditions, attractive or unattractive people, emotional states, low or high motivated people, communicative state, introverted or extroverted people, and depending upon their cultural situation, if they are one of us or one of the others, so that we will be discriminating some of the audiences. And depending upon their residential status, are they urban or rural, from rural or origins, and having appropriate or inappropriate attitudes or behaviors, and their individual characteristics, their linguistic features, their use of language and communication skills will all be depending upon my news and making it is reachable or unreachable for some part of the audience. So going global is really very difficult in nowadays. So we need to think in clusters. Media is somewhere else, as you can see, but there are the children's rights law and ethical point of views, and there must be also some critical overviews. Which part of media is applicable to children, and which part of them should be excluded? So in family, community, and media parts, we need to discuss that. Media should also has some kind of auto control in producing for children, if their aim is just to give something to children in the form of media through the screens. Family should be the observers, and community would be the observers as well, so that we can balance whatever media can produce and whichever is appropriate for children. And for whose children? As you might remember, the paradigms, there might be many people having several different paradigms, having sexual, educational, contextual, residential issues in different ways, so that some part of media might be okay for some families, but it won't be the same for some other families. So we also know that there are some images referring to modeling, identification, and there's the provocation theory that we provide so many advertisements for children that they need to reach to that object, whatever is sold to them. For example, there are so many milk and yogurt advertisements on TV, and they tend to consume more yogurt and milk, but so much calcium might be very dangerous for most of the kids. And even some of them have got some lactose intolerance, and it's not available to all kids. But then why do we have so many advertisements on TV? That's a question mark. We've got scenarios. It's what we call the social scenarios. When we say, knock, knock the door, and your daughter arrived, it's 3 in the morning. What kind of a scenario you think of? Usually people ask, where were you? Why didn't you answer my phone calls? What happened to you? Why are you so late, etc. They never think of the girl being a pilot, for example, a doctor, a police officer, or a nurse, they always think of it as a kind of a little girl spending her time with the friends, studying or enjoying themselves. So we have some kind of prejudices. And also we've got some cultivated ideas, and we are still continuing to cultivate ideas. And, we also have got the spiral of silence. It's a theory that if nobody talks about it, nobody talks about it. So we need some voices to be heard so that the other voices could be heard as well. And agenda setting is another theory that is applicable to all media nowadays. Once the agenda is set there, everybody is following. For example, Barbie babies. Well, it's a great agenda for the kids, and it's selling everything, all the images, all the lifestyle, all the expectations, etc. It's not only the news agenda that we're talking about, it's a lifestyle that they are selling actually. And the consistency, once the audience has kind of consistency with the self and the media, so they will be following the same media, and it's a kind of a reflection of the self. Nothing is changing. And there's the political economy, of course, whatever the political economy is providing you, you tend to consume it as well. So when we consider child in the media, we see that they are usually the politics accessories. They are tools of sympathy. They are the element of humor, funny things, events, adventures, etc. Sometimes the extraordinary child is taking place in the media. Sometimes it's the extraordinary achievements. Sometimes it's the subject of a tragedy in dramas, and sometimes it's a matter of sacrifice that somebody lost a child, for example. So it only can take place in media. So we have so many news mentioning the world child, but they are not for children. So how can we protect the child? From whom, against whom, in which ways, and what kind of ethical understanding? That's the main question. What I offer is a kind of a consideration of children's rights, if possible, because sometimes it's not possible. Nowadays, it's an object. Also, it's in the curriculum. We teach it in the form of courses, and we believe that non-discrimination is required, and we believe that the best interest of the child should be considered. The child's own opinion is important. Freedom of expression of the child is important. Freedom of thought and science and religion is important. Private life is important, and protection of the private life is also important. Access to information and objectives of the training for the child is important. But privacy does not only mean private or hidden of the individual. It's sometimes put into the screen, especially by the hand of the parents. They take the pictures of the child, starting from the first days of its birth, and then they share it. Sharing is also a great problem for us in nowadays, and nobody's warning the parents that it might be against the children's rights to share so many pictures of the baby. And children sometimes shared by the kindergartens because of their population wants to be increased, and the number of the kids is much more important for the school management. And the more students they have, the richer they become. That's why they show the kids in action, entertaining themselves in parks, in theme parks, etc., while visiting another city, etc. But it's not ethical. And sometimes we try to deceive the other parents by changing clothes of our children and using them just like mannequins in a kind of a what we call it. They wear several different dresses and then walk in the podium, and then they just show off, and they feel that they are wearing luxury things and nothing else. But in a way, we are bullying our own children behaving like that. So especially children are really very important, and we need to change the impression management or reputation management. If a family is accepted as a kind of a business, how the reputation is managed in that family is not only in the hands of the parents, perhaps it's in the hands of the society and other members of the society. Somebody must warn them that they are doing something wrong. And in particular, news that's carried out without considering the accuracy of information. For example, in the state of flood, or in case of earthquake, the suffering children are shot, and their pictures were used in order to get some more emotion for the news. And it's not fair, I think, for the kids. Okay, these are the issues regarding the ethical rules. There are some problems with the use of the private information about the children. The names, addresses, photographs of the child should not be used in the media, whatever they produce in a piece of news or sharing items. The positioning of children in news and visuals is really very difficult to clarify. There are some stereotypes regarding children issues, and presentation of children's rights to use mass media is somewhat misleading in some cases. The presentation of positive role models is required, actually, because what we see is just bad mothers and fathers or misleading adults or wrong models for children. We see that the radio broadcasts for children are low, but we need to produce more radio broadcasts for children, because from one room to another, you can share your ideas, your emotions, especially if you are in the classroom. You may share your ideas with another classroom. You may share your ideas with your parents, etc. So radio broadcasting is really very important for kids to be, not to be watched only, to be heard, to voice up. And the concept of children's channels needs to be monitored and questioned, because sometimes the media influencers, Instagram influencers, are used by parents just to make money, not to present a kid really doing something. They just want to gain some more money. And children's films in cinema are so controversial that I can discuss each and every one of them. They are not representing the child in the best possible way. Instead, they are introducing some pagan beliefs and putting the kids into a kind of a virtual atmosphere that nothing is related with reality. Instead, children need to learn something in reality. News related with the children in print media is problematic, as we told before. Access and sharing on the internet is problematic. In some cases, kids cannot reach internet, and children's visibility on the internet is heartbreaking. The invisibility of children on the internet brings many problems with it, and to what extent our protective laws are really protective ones. We are developing many different ideas about it. So imagine that this is a kind of a machine producing news. This is the production stage here. And here we've got the sales and advertising department. And then it's just through the generative dynamics of the media, we are both producing and consuming at the same time. As the production stage, we need the screenwriters, directors, works and adaptations, parents and society, children's news on societies and films and concept of privacy, because it's the production stage. We may even use censorship to control, or we may control it in a self-ethical way regarding the ethical principles of different societies. On the sales and advertising department, privacy habits should be considered. YouTube, influencers, cinema films, objectionable behaviors should be considered on the other hand. And distribution channels, incentives, ethical guidelines, cultural policies, products with child participation, and production feedback should also be considered. And what we need is just a kind of a product suitable for sensitive child audiences. We need to consider the family and social culture. We need to consider the children and protect them. And at the end, we need to consider the language and cultural sensitivities and develop a kind of a respected and trusted sector full of employees working with children, learning from children, because in order to understand children, we need to work with children. We cannot, as the writers of the kids' books or the literature people, we cannot understand children. We can only talk about our inner childhood. We can only talk about ourselves, but the child has its own decision-making processes. What I try to show you for the last thing is just beams of light. Let's see. We've got the light coming through this way, and it is reflected in the same way. It's the same angle, as you see. This means that the child is reflecting whatever he or she sees in the media. This is the right way of imitating the media, okay? And if this is only one beam, it's reflecting, there's no problem with that. This is the reflection. So I learned something, and everything is given one by one. Each item is introduced in a single way. But media has so many different beams produced at the same time, so that we need to cover all these different beams. But if it's a kind of a specular reflection, if it's direct reflection, I can still understand the messages and confront with them. And this is the difficult part, because there's a kind of a diffusion of reflections. Each beam is moving in a different way, and as a child from the media, I don't get anything. I cannot understand what the reflection is, and I cannot reflect myself, because the mother is saying something in that way, the father is saying something in a different way, the grandma is asking something different, the teachers are requiring something different. So this is a diffusion for the kid, and he cannot understand it. And in each diffusion, we've got either an exaggeration or normalization or minimization or downgrading. So we need to be very careful about the messages that we send for children, because children are unaware of the manipulative power of the media. They get it directly because they think that they understand it, even if they cannot explain it later on, but they feel that they understand it. They receive scattered reflections, not information. They don't get it. They don't deal with the information. They just try to understand what they feel. And through the things they watch, we understand that children are only experiencing fears or happinesses. So it all depends upon the framework of the transmission. The information flowing from screens cannot be systematically accumulated and used functionally. That's why the children in front of the screens are mute ones. They cannot talk about it because it's so full of information that I cannot reflect it. I call it as a kind of a broken mirrors hypothesis, because whether ultimately all the media presents a large mirror image composed of broken mirrors. Just imagine to see yourself in front of that kind of a broken mirror. Each piece of the mirror is reflecting a different reality. For example, you can see only one eye, but not both eyes. You can see only your nose, but not the mouth, for example. So you cannot see your whole face. Through the media, if there's a kind of a diffusion and misunderstanding, misinformation, disinformation through the media, you cannot reach to the reality. So here we've got the transparency all around the world. We can see whatever we want from our glass windows, and we are also transparent to the society. But are we more transparent in nowadays? Because in the past we were living like this in brick walls, and we've got hidden selves inside. And now we've discovered ourselves, and we are living in a breakable window-like, mirror-like apartments, so that we are more fragile and it's easy to break it. And I will show you this one. If I make use of a child, let's see that I'm the manufacturer of these clothings. If I put a human face into it, I'm selling the child, not the clothes, because people are looking at it, oh, how cute it is, etc. And then they don't consider the quality or the color or the size of the thing they are buying, but they are just getting wrong impression of the cuteness of the child. But where's ethics? Then the ethical thing is just to sell only the clothes, not the children faces. So I think that's all I can say now, and I'm ready for any questions if you have any.
Thank you very much for these insightful reflections. And we'll now open the floor to our audience. So please feel free to type your questions in the chat, or you can alternatively unmute yourselves and ask your questions. And before this, we also have prepared some questions for you. So I would like to ask about this. Given your interdisciplinary background, how can educators, simple teachers, integrate media literacy and ethical awareness into their teaching in a practical and sustainable way?
Well, thank you. This is an excellent question. I think as time passes, we cannot reach to the media as in the days we lived in the past. I mean, for example, in my childhood, our elementary school teacher were buying all the newspapers for us, for the whole class. And we were having some group works, and then we were sharing some part of the news. And then the main question was the same all the time. Which part of the news was the most important one for you today? Because every day your agenda changes. Sometimes it's a match result. There was a football match last night, and then I see that my team is the winner, so I may talk about that. Or sometimes it's an accident. Sometimes it's fire in the next street. Sometimes it's something that happened to a child in another town. So we were choosing our own agendas, and we were reflecting. We were reading real newspapers. There were no cancellations or censorship,
Mhm.
and we were just ordinary children, and it was possible to bring newspapers into the classes. But now the agenda is so full of the information that the teachers don't have enough time
Yeah.
to talk about the daily agenda of the society or of the child. Let me tell you one more example. Once we visited a classroom and we asked them some questionnaire, we give them, and then in the end we figured out that they all want to become a fireman. I said that it's impossible for all the kids to become firemen, sorry. And then we later on figured out that there was a fire in one of the students' house, and all students were affected by that. That's why they really would like to become firemen, because they want to save lives. They want to help people, and because it was a real thing for them. And the children are very affectionate, very emotional. So without playing with their emotions, without manipulating them, we can give them the reality, introduce it slowly, depending upon their readiness level, their emotional level, their intelligence level, their capacity. And introducing reality to kids is really very important. I think every teacher can do that. What happened to you last week? What happened to your neighbors last week, yesterday, the day before, etc. You can ask their opinions so that they learn how to be observers and reporters.
Yes. Thank you so much for this comprehensive answer. And we have one more question. Miss Samira Said from Iraq. She asks, how does content created by AI affect public trust in media, especially with the various social media platforms existing?
Wow, this is an excellent question. Thank you very much for asking this. And I think AI creation cannot be simplified into one cluster only. We cannot say that it's only good or it's only bad. But I've seen so many different AI manufactured, created contents, especially stated that for children, and I don't think that they are applicable for children. They are dangerous for children because the ethical rules are forgotten while preparing them. The representation of the kids in those reels are not represented in the good way. The children are discriminated, and there were bullying actions that they may affect the children deeply. There were parents living apart, or husbands or wives quarreling with each other in front of kids. I mean, in the AI produced media, I don't think that this is the AI style we deserve. We deserve better. I mean, if the dynamics of media is in our hands, we can produce better things. We don't need to imitate the things in the real life, so that I don't expect to create an unreal world, of course, only pink for the kids. But we need to stick to the reality once more, and we need to consider the ethical rules as we consider the ethical rules in real life.
Yes, thank you so much. Dan, do you have questions?
Yes. Thank you very much, Shalala, for asking me to go on with the question. I'm going to ask Professor Pembecioğlu a question. It goes like this. What advice would you give to early career educators and researchers who want to work at the intersection of media, education, and social responsibility, if responsibility is a field of work? Yeah.
Mhm. Thank you very much. This is an excellent question, and perhaps you know the answer. Because in 2000, I was in Romania, invited by the Ministry of Education, and they started to educate the educators regarding the interactive skills and information technologies. It was in the state of Maramuresh, and they included all the teachers in Maramuresh to take courses on information technologies. And in Turkey, for example, or in any other country, it was not possible at that time that they really cared about the interaction of the teachers and the richness of their material in the classroom. It was not making use of the tapes, recordings, or the videos as usual, but they learned how to make use of the computers in the classroom and to make use of them as the efficient tools. So I think I'm really very proud of Romania for doing that, and I'm also very proud of being a part of this project. So I think only thing we need on the side of the teachers is just be equipped with all this new emerging technology and devices we call new media. They need to shoot films, they need to take excellent photographs, they need to motivate the kids for being a part of the child created media, and they need to be sure that they are doing it in the right way. So in order to achieve this aim, they first need to self-develop the media skills for the teachers and teacher trainers, and then so that they can cope up with the kids' media tendencies, because what you will come up soon is just the internet phenomenons in your classes, creating their own news, their own material, their own music or films. So in order to be able to teach them something, you also need to know that style.
You should be knowledgeable about
Mhm.
all of this. Yeah. Thank you so much. And I mean, our conversation is running so smoothly and everything is so interesting, and I'd be happy to talk about it more. But I don't want to take your time. We are running out of time, so maybe it's time to finalize. Dan, do you have anything to say? Final words?
Yes, some final words. Thank you, Shalala. I would like to sincerely thank Professor Dr. Nilüfer Pembecioğlu for a rich and thought-provoking session. We all were inspired by it. Your insights and experience, dear Professor, have added great value to our webinar series tonight. I would also like to thank all participants for their active engagement and thoughtful questions. It has been a real pleasure to co-host this session. Shalala, back to you for the final remarks.
Thank you so much, Dan. So once again, our sincere thanks to Professor Dr. Nilüfer Pembecioğlu for being with us today and for sharing her expertise. We are also grateful to everyone who joined and contributed to this discussion. This session is another meaningful step in our Informed Voices Media Literacy webinar series. And we truly hope to see all of you again in our upcoming webinars. And as always, till the next time, stay safe, stay informed, and stay media literate. So thank you and have a wonderful evening. See
Thank
you
you
soon.
very much. Thank you.
Bye.